It's like saying, is you is or is you ain't?
Right.
Is you animal? Is you vegetable? Is you mineral?
Difficult new task during the day, say a new instrument.
Body. He separated the seas,
So we watching this because I'm going somewhere with it, as always. So let's get this motivation.
Kurt Cobain once said, "I'd rather be hated for who I am than loved for who I am not." The truth is, you will never be hated by the right people for being real. Being real, being yourself, is the greatest filter you could ever use. It instantly filters out all the people that don't belong with you. And at the same time, it reveals those who do. Bob Marley once said, "The only problem is people are being hated when they are real and loved when they are fake." It's true. But what is missed here is one very important fact. The people that are hating people being real are fake people. And the people that are loving fake people are the same fake people. Real recognizes real.
Yes, sir.
Real recognizes fake. So who do you want to attract? Fake people or real people? Be yourself, and I promise you, eventually you will attract the right people. Be yourself. No matter what has happened to you, no matter who has hurt you, no matter what you believe, be yourself and be kind to others. If you do that, life will turn out far greater than you ever thought possible. If you don't, life will be painful. Because living a life with a mask on, you can't see. Living a life trying to fit in, you will never. Living a life trying to be someone else so other people will like you, you might fit in on the outside. But inside, you'll never be complete. You'll never be happy. Repeat to yourself every day, "I am different. That is why I win. I am unique. And that is why I am great. I'm not like anyone else on this planet. I am grateful for who I am becoming. I am grateful for who I am. I am committed to be myself and speak my truth at all times. And I know that is the only time the right people will show up in my life. Those who are meant for me will love and support and be real with the real me. I'm done with fake people. And that includes a fake version of me.
Yes, sir.
I will stand tall and stand strong in my purpose, in everything that matters to me. I'm different. That is why I win. I am different. That is why I win. I am unique, and that is why I am great. I'm not like anyone else on this planet. I am grateful for who I am becoming. I am grateful for who I am. I am committed to be myself and speak my truth at all times. And I know that is the only time the right people will show up in my life. Those who are meant for me will love and support and be real with the real me. I'm done with fake people, and that includes a fake version of me. I will stand tall and stand strong in my purpose, in everything that matters to me. I'm different. That is why I win. I am me. That is why I win. I am different. Different with pride. If you're different, be different. Be different with pride.
Yes, sir. Hope y'all got some motivation out of that for the day. All right, so today, what I said we was talking about, I never changed it on Twitch, did I? Nope. Oh, I didn't change the episode number though. All we have. All right, so the best way to, well, one of the best ways I found to instantly change my mood, when I get angry, when I get sad, is to search for something to be not grateful for, but to kind of count, to start a counting system in my head of saying, hey, I still have this, I still have that, I still have this, I still have that. And those may be things to look forward to. Those may be things that I have. Those may be things that I want to get and I'm on the verge of getting or working towards getting. So I start doing counting, and it helps with my mental. So we're gonna look at some gratefulness exercises, just to help us cope mentally. Fullness. We're just gonna type it in real quick. All right. Let's try this.
Hi, Kate here.
Oh, let me get my light on. Hey, what's up? Welcome to another episode of Expansion Pack. I'm your host, Dan F. Man. Glad to be in here with y'all. Let me get my cameras right. Get everything set up and situated for you. All right, we back here again for another Mindful Monday. We're looking at your motivation today, what it can do to help you, what it's doing to slow you down, all of the above. We all feel it every single day. It motivates us to do good, motivate us to do wrong, motivate us to go up, left, right, all of that good stuff. So let's get some motivation for today, and then let's get this thing started the right way. I think I got music playing in the background too. Turn the music off. All right, here we go. Motivation for today. Oh, motivation for men. Yeah. It's Monday.
It doesn't matter what your goal is, making a resume, writing an essay, or drafting a cover letter, Grammarly takes your writing game to the next level.
Life is not easy at all. There's gonna be challenges. You're gonna get beat down. That's the way life is.
You sort of put a mask on your face and you go home and lay in your bed when no one's looking at you and you don't have to impress anybody and you're yourself. And fear comes in. Maybe you don't know for sure what's going to be happening in the future and it scares you. Just that fear paralyzes you. And I just want to ask you today, do you think you have hope?
At some point, everything's going to go south on you. Everything's going to go south and you're going to say, this is it. This is how I end. Now you can either accept that or you can get to work. That's all it is. You just begin. You do the math, you solve one problem, and you solve the next one.
And it doesn't matter how you get knocked down in life, because that's gonna happen. All that matters is that you gotta get up.
You have to get up.
Whatever experience you're having right now, it has not come to stay. It has come to pass. Sometimes you have to just back up and go within yourself and pray and meditate and recharge your batteries. Go away, clear your head, and then come back and look at it from a different vantage point. Don't operate while you're under the spell or the effect of what's going on. Don't allow your emotions to control you. We are emotional, but you want to begin to discipline your emotion. If you don't discipline and contain your emotions, they will use you. You don't have to force yourself or motivate yourself to think negatively, to be depressed, to beat yourself up over the head, to feel loaded with guilt. You don't have to make any effort to do that. Your mind is on automatic. It will do that by itself. But if you want to begin to move into your own personal greatness, you've got to be willing to go against the tide. You've got to be willing to harness your will and say, in spite of this, I'm in control here. I'm not going to let this get me down. I'm not going to let this destroy me. I'm coming back.
You ask me, bro, what do you want? Man, I want to be diamond. Tell me something I don't know. Everybody wants it. But the raw reality of it is, everybody don't get it. And the crazy thing is, if you want it, you can get it. It's not like somebody is stopping you and holding the gun to your head and telling you you can't get it. It's a matter of will. It's a matter of hard work. It's a matter of sacrifice. It's a matter of dedication. It's a matter of commitment.
The difference is not the genetic code, the potential. It's a guy that's willing to get knocked down, finally tested on fortitude, stand back up, the perseverance to see it through, the never say die attitude.
We know the battle ahead. We know the journey ahead is going to get tough. We know we're going to face obstacles. We know it's going to be some discomfort. We know they're going to try to break us. We know they're coming for us. We know that's going to happen already. So let's make up in our minds before the battle that we're going to be victorious.
Don't cry to give up. Cry to keep going. Don't cry to quit. You already in pain. You already hurt. Get a reward from it. At the end of pain is success. You're not going to die because you're feeling a little pain.
You tell yourself, I won't give up. When that depression hits you, come out of nowhere, you tell yourself, I won't give up.
There's no guarantee that because somebody is now down on their luck, they can never come back. Who can guarantee that you can't make it? That you can't have your dream? Who can guarantee that you can't do what you want to do? No one can do that. No one can predict that. You don't know what the possibilities are for your life.
Because if you're willing to go through all the battling you got to go through to get to where you want to get, who's got the right to stop you? It's your right to listen to your gut. It ain't nobody's right to say no after you earn the right to be where you want to be and do what you want to do.
All we need to do is we look at our dreams as we get ready to hit the floor. I am blessed and highly favored. I don't care if you're sick. I don't care what you're going through. If you're not dead, he ain't through with you yet. As long as you waking up, you still in the game. As long as you alive, you can still make it happen. As long as that breath in your nostrils, boo, you still in the game. You still can win. Now get your butt up.
Let's go. All right, y'all. Let's get started for today. Jump right into it. What is motivation? Get some how-tos on there. Then we go get some motivational hacks.
Whether you're trying to lose 20 pounds, get that promotion at work, or quit smoking, sticking to your goal isn't an easy task. After all, 45% of people drop their New Year's resolutions after a month. So why is it so difficult to keep motivated, and how can science help us achieve what we're after? In one MIT study, students were given two types of tasks. In the first, they had to hit 2 keys on a keyboard as many times as possible in 4 minutes, and those that did it the fastest would receive money. For some, the reward was $300, while for others, only $30. Interestingly, performance was 95% greater in the high $300 group, highlighting how money can be a motivator. But in the second task, the same students were asked to solve a more complex math problem, and this time those offered the high reward performed 32% slower than the small reward group. This is known as the distraction effect. When we're given a task that requires problem solving, economic or emotional pressure can cause the focus to shift to the motivator, ultimately dividing your attention and reducing performance. When we look inside the brains of individuals, fMRI scans reveal that people who complete a challenge for fun and people who do it for a reward show similar activity throughout the brain. But interestingly, if those offered a reward the first time are asked to participate again for no reward, scans show a decrease in activity in the anterior striatum and prefrontal areas, parts of the brain linked to self-motivation. It seems that rewards may cancel out our natural sense of play. So how does this apply to you? Well, it turns out that play is the strongest motivator for sustained behavioral changes. It makes sense that we stick with enjoyable activities, but considering 67% of gym memberships go unused, it seems most of us are picking the wrong activities to achieve our goals. You might burn the most calories on a treadmill, but not if you stop going after 2 weeks. Pick something you actually like doing. Your goal itself also matters. A study investigating reasons for exercise found that those focused on weight loss spent 32% less time exercising than those who said they want to feel better in day-to-day life. And while it's always good to have a positive attitude, optimism may not always be the best strategy. In a study of 210 females trying to quit smoking, participants who only imagined major success with few obstacles were less likely to reduce cigarette consumption. Positive thoughts can often trick your brain into thinking you've already achieved the goal, giving you a sense of reward and reducing motivation. But this doesn't mean negative thoughts are good. Imagining a goal coming true and then thinking through the obstacles that stand in your way is the best mixed approach. This is known as mental contrasting. Finally, try and avoid the what the hell effect. This behavior was first addressed when researchers gave dieters varying sizes of milkshakes, from small to large, and then offered them ice cream afterwards. It turns out those who had large milkshakes also ended up eating more ice cream because, what the hell, I've already ruined my diet, I might as well go all out. Anticipating that you will have some bumps along the road to success, whether it be a fitness goal, quitting smoking, or work aspirations, will bring you closer to making your goals a reality. Want some tips for motivation with short-term goals, like that assignment that's due tomorrow? Check out our latest ASAP Thought video on the best tips to overcome that lazy.
All right, we just getting some scientific thoughts about what motivation is. Get another short video.
Let's face it, you're not as productive as you think. You spend hours managing your calendar, tweaking your plan, and reshuffling your day. Here's the truth, that's just busy work. Trust me, I get it, I've been there. You think that...
A study was conducted in 1998 at Columbia University by a Professor Claudia M. Mueller. She took a large group of fifth graders and had them work on numerous puzzles by themselves. Now, these were very challenging puzzles, but regardless of how well each child did, he or she was told that they scored very well, that they did better than most of the other kids. Afterwards, half of these students were told that they scored high because they worked hard, while the other half were told that it was all because they were smart and gifted. Then they presented each student with 3 more types of puzzles to work on: easy ones, medium difficulty ones, and extremely challenging ones. And what they found was very interesting. The students who were told that they did well because they were smart spent the majority of their time on the easy puzzles. They spent almost no time on the extremely challenging puzzles and spent much less time overall trying to solve any of the puzzles, which was a sign of lower levels of motivation. And to top it all off, when asked whether or not they enjoyed the experiment, they said that it wasn't that fun for them. On the other hand, the students who were told that they did well because they worked hard spent the majority of their time focused on the harder puzzles. They also spent a lot more time overall attempting to solve any of the puzzles, which was a sign of an increase in levels of motivation. And to top it all off, after the experiment, they said that they actually enjoyed the entire experience. So what can we learn from this study? Well, there's a concept called the locus of control, which is essentially the degree to which you believe you have control over your life. The kids who were told that they did well because they were smart and gifted were led to believe in what's called an external locus of control. They were led to believe that factors outside of what they could control were the reason they did well, right? You can't control whether or not you're born smart. On the other hand, the kids who were told they did well because they worked hard started to believe in what's called an internal locus of control. They believed that it was factors they controlled that led to their outcomes. It was their hard work and their extra effort that allowed them to do well on the puzzles, right? Because how much work you put into something is something that you have complete control over. Exactly. Now, studies on the locus of control like this one have found time and time again that having an internal locus of control is the key to staying motivated. You must feel like you have control over your life and that you are responsible for the things that happen to you if you want to feel motivated all of the time. I saw this happen with my own eyes back in the day when I was in charge of a sales team. This wasn't retail sales or car sales. This was old school door-to-door sales, which has one of the highest turnover rates. Most people only last a week before quitting. Right. See, you need to be an extremely motivated individual to be able to face hundreds and hundreds of rejections every single day before someone even considers buying something from you. Now, over time, I was able to develop a keen eye for who would actually last, who I should spend more time and energy training. All I had to do was ask a simple question when a new salesperson on my team was confronted with their first bad day, a day in which they made no sales. I would ask them, "Why do you think you made no sales today?" And I would see how they would respond. If they blamed things like the weather, the fact that it's a weekend and nobody wants to be bothered on the weekends, or because it was the neighborhood, I would instantly know that they wouldn't last because they had an external locus of control. They believed that the reason they couldn't make any sales was because of factors outside of their control. And because of this, they spent less time knocking on doors, which was ultimately the real reason why they weren't making any sales. That's the curse of having an external locus of control. When you feel like nothing you do matters, you stop working. You stop trying. Because what's the point of trying when the world's conspiring against you, right? So how do we adopt an internal locus of control so that we can start feeling motivated all of the time? Well, they found that the best way to do so is by simply solving problems in your own life and then taking some time and appreciating the fact that it was your actions that solved this problem. I'll give you an example just to make things more clear. Let's say you're someone who struggles with falling asleep. So you go do some research and you find out if you get some more sunlight in the morning, if you only use your bed for sleeping, and if you install a blue light filter on your phone, that should drastically increase your ability to sleep faster when bedtime comes around. You do all of those things and lo and behold, you find yourself sleeping 15 minutes faster than before. When you notice this improvement, you need to say to yourself, wow, it was because of the changes I made, because of the effort I put in that I am now able to sleep better. It's that simple. Build up that belief that you are in control of your destiny, that you have an internal locus of control, and you will never have issues with motivation in your life again. This episode is brought to you with the help of the guys at Skillshare. Skillshare is an online learning community for creators with more than 25,000 classes in design, business, and much, much more. If there's something you want to learn and improve on, chances are there's a class on that exact subject on Skillshare. Click on the link in the description box below to get a 2-month free trial, after which it will only cost $10 a month to remain a member. I suggest you guys to check out the Productivity Today course, which essentially teaches you ways to increase and improve your attention span, which we all know needs to be worked on. Taking this course will allow you to focus and get more things done, which is a great way to develop that internal locus of control so you will feel even more motivated in the future. So I definitely recommend you guys to check it out. Besides that, guys, stay tuned.
All right, y'all. So that was important, that locus of control. I didn't have a word for it, but the locus of control, meaning if you feel you're more in control and it's coming from something that you can do, then you got a little bit more flexibility in how you feel about the situation. So, motivation hacks for the week. Let's see. I spelled hacks wrong, but they know what I meant. Hey. Let me see that.
So let's say you have to read an incredibly long email from your boss that you have to finish before the big...
Hello, brains and hearts. Remember that thing I promised you I'd do? Yeah, about that. We don't always do what we intend to do. Why? Because between intending to do it and actually doing it, there's a big chasm. With most tasks, for most people, that chasm is bridged by motivation. We'll call this motivation bridge. And it's built using motivational planks like, this will be good for my career. It'll make my family proud. I told a bunch of people I would. Motivation bridge isn't always perfect, but little gaps in motivation can be overcome with willpower. Self-discipline. I don't want to do the thing, but if it's important to me, I will. I might not have all the motivation, but I have enough that I can get there. Unfortunately, ADHD is what Dr. Russell Barkley often refers to as a motivation deficit disorder. Something might be just as important to us as it is to somebody without ADHD, but that importance doesn't give us as many motivational planks. We don't have little gaps in motivation. Half the bridge is missing, which means we might want to cross that chasm and do the thing. We might put a ton of effort into trying to. We just can't. This can be really confusing and frustrating for people who can't see all the missing planks and don't understand why we don't just cross the bridge and do the thing. They can get over their gaps. Why can't we get over ours? We must not care. We must be lazy. It's also confusing and frustrating for us when it's a bridge we've crossed before, a thing we've been able to do before. This is why many ADHDers feel like maybe we are just lazy or don't care. We know we can do it, other people are doing it, so why aren't we? Because it's not about that. The times that we or other people can do the thing, it's because there are more planks. So if we want to get something done and we're having trouble doing it, or if we want to support an ADHD brain we love, what do? How do we fix motivation bridge? First, it helps to understand what ADHD brains find motivating and what they don't, because this also differs a bit from neurotypical brains. According to research, ADHD brains tend to have trouble with tasks that are lengthy, repetitive, or boring. On the flip side, there are a few things that give ADHD brains a bunch of motivational planks. Things that are urgent, things that are new or novel, and things that are of personal interest. In other words, things that are stimulating or engaging to our brains, which is also why stimulant, medication, and exercise can be helpful. This need for stimulation isn't a choice. It's how our brains work. Some tasks naturally include these motivational planks. Video games, anyone? Which is why they hold our focus so well. But for those that don't, we can add them. We can fill in the planks. How? 1. Make it urgent. One way we do this kind of unintentionally is by procrastinating. We might struggle for weeks to get started on a paper, but then the night before it's due, sense of urgency kicks in, and suddenly we have the planks to get over that bridge. Sound familiar? That might not be the healthiest thing in the world, but there are other ways to create a sense of urgency. Creating artificial deadlines is kind of hit and miss for ADHD brains, since we know on some level the deadline isn't real, but accountability can help make it real. Maybe instead of having one final deadline for a paper, ask your teacher if you can have a deadline for each draft. If you've got a big project at work, meet with a coworker regularly to check in on each other's progress. Want to get your house clean? Invite someone over. Knowing someone will see our house, and soon, can give us the motivational planks we need to clean it up. And sometimes, we don't even need to make the task urgent, we just need to see the ways in which it already is. I might not feel like I need to do something today, but if I don't, it's going to put me behind on the rest of my week. Realizing that helps. Timers are also useful. Setting a timer and seeing how much you can get done before it goes off. What doesn't help? Seeing that someone with ADHD is struggling with something and being like, it's okay, get it to me whenever. Although it's wonderfully understanding, it actually takes away planks and makes it less likely that we'll be able to get it done. Instead, check in, ask for updates. Shame-free accountability is really helpful. 2. Make it new or novel. We can't always do new things, but we can do them in new environments or in new ways. Do your homework in a hammock. Learn new ways to fold laundry. I was kind of meh about folding laundry until I learned Marie Kondo's method, and now it's kind of fun. If you're having trouble getting yourself to floss, try getting a variety of floss flavors to choose from. I tend to get bored of my hobbies really quickly, but I've learned to accept that once they get old, I will put them down for a while, and I'll cycle back to them when they feel new again. For tasks you have to do a lot, you can iterate on them. Challenge yourself to find easier, better, or faster ways to do them. Or weirder ways. Studying might be boring, but what if I had to do it upside down? Gamification can make repetitive tasks novel. There are a lot of ways to mix it up. Finally, 3, make it personally interesting. ADHDers are interest-based learners. It's a lot easier for me to read a book in a series that I'm excited about than one my teacher assigned me for homework. That's true for anyone, but for those with ADHD, it can be the difference between being able to get it done and not. Anyone who's ever lived with an ADHD brain knows that whether or not we're interested in a task can be the difference between it taking 5 minutes and 5 years. So at this point, before I even start a task, I try to get my brain interested in it. One way I do this, the episodes I make for this channel are usually about something that I'm struggling with at the time, so I'm personally invested in finding a solution. Sometimes we don't get to choose the tasks we have to do, but we can do them in a way we find interesting. Even for things we have to do in a certain way, it's usually possible to find something about it that's of personal interest. Whatever you do, try not to make a task you need to get done compete with one that's more interesting. Even if we can't find anything else interesting about a task, we can add rewards that are interesting. Rewards can be especially motivating for ADHD brains, but keep in mind, we experience time differently. Long-term rewards are often too far away to be effective. This is why the immediate feedback of sticker charts, raffle tickets, or even a quick verbal acknowledgement is great. It shortens the distance between the behavior and the reward, which makes it more motivating and gives us more motivational planks. All these things, making it urgent, making it new or novel, and making it personally interesting, can give us more planks to help us get over a motivation bridge. Do we need to have all the planks in place before we start? No, of course not. And jumping over the little gaps can make us stronger. But if your bridge looks like this, don't waste energy trying to jump that gap, or telling yourself or someone you love how important it is that they get it done. They know. Instead, get curious about what's missing.
Exactly.
And then fill in the planks.
Thank you. That motivation bridge makes sense. So, let me just talk for a couple seconds. So the reason why I chose this topic, hey, what's good, brother Reed? Brother Reed, yeah, I got my spacesuit ready, bruh. I'm ready. As you can see, I'm doing well, you probably can't see it because I'm on a different. I'm streaming from my Twitch too, but I'm playing Cities Skyline right now because I need to get in a different mindset. I was playing 2K and my brain was like, nah, bro, I can't take a beating today. So, but yeah, bro, I'm shopping computers. I'm telling you, I'm cleaning, shopping computers because this is it. This is it. My life, my virtual life. But anyway, It's good to hear from you, Brother Reed. So the reason I chose this topic for today is because we are looking for, all right, so when the power goes out, you can't do a lot of stuff. Watch TV, listen to the radio, anything of that nature, right? So it's the same thing when you're lacking motivation. When you ain't got that motivation, you can't get up, you can't eat, you can't sleep. And so with all of those, with that going on, you can say it's kind of like an electrical circuit right there. Without it, you can't power the things that you want to do. So I think the quest should be not to be getting goals completed. It should be a quest of training your motivation, your motivational antenna. Because if you can train your motivational antenna, then you can pick up a lot more energy to do a lot more things. Now, if your emotional antenna is undisciplined, then you're going to spend a lot of time picking up a lot on that you really don't want to do. But if you discipline your emotional antenna to pick up on those things, or motivational antenna, sorry, to pick up on those things that's going to get you the outcomes that you want, drive you towards the things that you want and the things that you are trying to do, then you're going to have the energy to do a lot of the time. Just a little bit of background on why I actually chose this topic for today, because I need that plug into the motivation to get my energy towards my goals. And so I'm going to myself personally seek the motivation more so than the outcome. What is driving me? What is pushing me towards what I want to do? All right, back to it. Let's get some motivational hacks. Motivation hacks. All right, here we go. Back to it.
You know those days when you really can't be bothered to get out of bed? Which is almost like every day in social isolation when you don't have anywhere to be. And then you read those stories of those go-getters who are just so darn motivated. Like the 5 a.m. club? Do I really have to wake up at 5 a.m. every morning to be considered a success? I think I'll pass. I've had a lot of conversations about the topic of motivation. And while every person is different, there are 3 science-backed tips that everyone should know. And whether you choose to wake up at 5 a.m. or not is not a determining factor. In this video, I'm going to share with you the 3 simplest hacks to motivate yourself when you just can't be bothered.
Hi, I'm Sade Zarai, and I help professionals to hack their careers, overcome their limiting beliefs, and confidently create the extraordinary life they deserve.
The very first thing you need to be aware of is that motivation doesn't equal action.
Yes.
You can't just sit around thinking that you'll get a shot of motivation and then you'll go out there and do whatever it is that you want to do. Actually, it's the other way around. It's action that leads to motivation. You have to actually go out there and do the thing before you can even start to feel remotely motivated about the thing. It's a slightly different way of looking at it, isn't it? When you go out there and you do that thing, you start to see yourself doing more of that thing. You start to visualize that achieving it isn't as difficult as you may have once thought. You start to see micro improvements in the micro steps helping you get closer to your actual goal. All of these things then add to the motivation for you to continue doing it. So talking about motivation and action, you basically have 2 options at this point in time. The first option is what I just talked about. You can take action. You can choose to act right now, right here, and start that thing that you've been thinking about for so long. But now the second option is what a lot of us get stuck into, and then we wonder why we have no motivation. We start procrastinating. We start overanalyzing. We overthink. And then we come up with every possible excuse, and then we hold ourselves back from taking any action at all. Those who are most successful in life, they take action over overthinking. The reality is that we all have negative self-defeatist thoughts. We all have that voice in our head telling us that we're not good enough, we're not going to be able to do it, we don't have the skills, the intelligence, the networks. And the thing is, if we actually listen to that voice, then we give it power over us. We have just created our reality by not acting. We need to really take life by the reins and realize that It's through action that we will achieve things. It's through action that we'll find more motivation to achieve our goals. And the second science-backed tip is to spend some time actually analyzing the reason why you want to do the thing, whatever it is that you've set as your goal. What I mean by this is start to think about what sort of benefit that you'll get from taking the action. So the thing to note here is that we have two types of rewards. We have intrinsic rewards, and then we have extrinsic rewards. Intrinsic rewards are internal to ourselves. They're things that we feel, including a sense of achievement, personal satisfaction, fulfillment, a sense of pride that we were able to get started on the goal, or even a heightened sense of curiosity because when we learn a little bit about something, we want to continue to learn more. Extrinsic rewards, on the other hand, are external to ourselves. They're extrinsic. This could be money, being recognized by someone else, and it could actually be a fear of punishment from others or from society. If you have a lot of intrinsic benefits, it's really positive for you because it means that you've got the internal drive and the internal motivation to actually achieve the goal. When you're intrinsically motivated, you might engage in an activity because you find it interesting and inherently satisfying, as well as the outcome. But if you have all intrinsic and don't have any extrinsic benefits, or don't have many of them, what could happen is that you have all the internal drive to do it, but you have nothing external holding you accountable to deliver within a certain time frame. I found that this was the case when I was writing my book. It was very internally motivated in terms of being able to complete it, and I would spend hours writing any chance that I could. But I got to a certain point where I started losing a bit of that motivation because I had nothing extrinsically driving me other than publishing the book. So what I did was I shared my goal of writing the book on social media and with those close to me. I shared it with my networks and I asked them to hold me accountable. As soon as I had people like family, friends, people I didn't even know very well, asking me how the book writing was going, I found that this external sense of accountability really boosted my motivation in sticking with the goal because I didn't want to let them down. On the other hand, if your motivators are entirely extrinsic motivators, this is a red flag for you to really dig deep and ask yourself whether this goal you're trying to achieve is something you really want, or whether you're only doing it because maybe other people are telling you should do it. Some people think that external achievements will bring a huge amount of happiness through social validation, through status, or a feeling of significance. But if these things are all linked to extrinsic outcomes, then it's almost guaranteed that it won't bring you happiness in the long run. So importantly, take some time to really think about why you're wanting to do what you're wanting to do, and try to come up with some intrinsic reasons why it's important to you to achieve it. And the third tip is to write out your goals, but write them based on the benefit you'll get as a result. These benefits are your why, your reason for wanting to achieve the goal, and that's the powerful motivator reminder that you need. For example, get a $5,000 pay rise isn't revealing an intrinsic or an extrinsic benefit. I'd ask you this: why is getting a $5,000 pay rise important to you? You might say, so that my value and my worth at work is acknowledged and I'm recognized as a valuable contributor to the team and company. So you immediately can see how getting a pay rise versus being recognized for my value makes you feel something different. By knowing your why, you're tapping into the emotion center of your brain.
Yes,
Emotions are what drive motivation, and motivation drives behavior, and then the other way around, action drives the motivation. So do this for all of your goals, and then you add the actionable, measurable, micro goals that help you achieve them. For example, start to document stakeholder feedback. Make a list of the quantifiable benefits that I've delivered to my company over the last 12 months, and then schedule a meeting with my manager. Once you've written them out, you want to put them somewhere visible, somewhere where you will see them every single day to continually remind yourself of your goals and keep you laser focused. This visual cue is really important. And another useful hack worth noting is instead of saying to yourself, I should, change your language to say, I choose.
I choose, yes.
Subtle language changes have a profound influence on how you feel and how you show up. Language of I should, like I should arrange a meeting with my manager to discuss my salary, or I should go to the gym today, can be very demotivating. So instead say, I choose to arrange a meeting for next week, or even I get to go to the gym today. It's the simple power of neurolinguistics, but it has a huge impact on how you feel and then what you end up doing. So there you have it, 3 simple hacks to help you motivate yourself when you really can't be bothered. And it comes down to action, knowing your why, knowing your motivators, and the power of language. I really hope these hacks are useful and helped provide a different way of looking at motivation
definitely did.
to help you achieve your next goal. In the comments below, let me know what you're working towards and how you're keeping yourself motivated.
I will not.
I'm Sade Zarai. I'll see you next
Good to
time.
see you, Sade. That's my girl right there. Hey, y'all holla at Sade. Sade Zarai. All right, I'm going to sub that channel, though. But just a little bit of motivation hacks could change your whole week, day, month, year. And you might use it for a lifetime. So let's go. Let's get a little bit more cleaning hacks. Oh, there we go. Do I want some cleaning hacks? We got 9 minutes. No. All right, let's see what my man say. Because I wanted to get a neurological
For things to
thought about
change,
it anyway.
you got to change. Everybody wants things to change, you know, but that's not how it works.
Let's learn how to work our machinery a little bit.
I agree. We don't, in this culture, teach people how to operate their mind and body.
How do you get motivated? Well, one way to do that is if you are good at subjectively attaching dopamine to the pursuit, just knowing, okay, I really am hungry for this. I'm going to tell myself that, making it 1% of the way is a success, and I'm going to keep going, and I'm going to keep ratcheting on. And then the other aspect of it is that anytime that we're leaning into action, it has the possibility of being an amplifying process or a depleting process. And the key to that is making sure that you're balancing the dopamine and epinephrine systems. We have to remember that this mechanism of dopamine and pathfinding to goals is in every animal. Humans, dogs, sheep. So a grazing animal might be on a really barren landscape. They go some direction and they don't smell water, which animals can do. And so they veer off course, and then all of a sudden they get a little bit of scent of water. At that point, that's when the dopamine is released, not when they get the water and drink from it. So that puts them in energy to get there. You think about walking in the desert and you're just dying of thirst, and all of a sudden you spot a big lake. All of a sudden, you will have the energy to run the remaining mile, whereas before you thought you were going to die. How is that? It's not like more glycogen is suddenly available. It's not like ketones did it for you. So what did it? That's dopamine. That's dopamine release that says there's a reward waiting for me. And I would say finally, in 2020, we finally as a field got a clear idea of how dopamine is really working. If you can start to register, that craving and that friction and that desire, that almost kind of low level of agitation, sometimes high level of agitation, that is that I'm trying to impose my will on the world in a benevolent way, we hope. That's dopamine. It's working with its close cousin, which is epinephrine, which is adrenaline. They are very close cousins. In fact, dopamine manufactures epinephrine. A lot of people don't know this, but adrenaline is actually made from the molecule dopamine. Okay, so those two are hanging out together. It's like crave work, crave work, crave and work, crave and work, crave and work. And then you get the win. And some people allow the big peak in dopamine to be associated with the win. And smart people learn to adjust their celebration internally, right? This is all internal. You could throw the biggest party in the world, but as long as you're kind of laid back and looking at this, not letting yourself get manic crazy, you won't necessarily crash as hard, and pretty soon your system will reset. So that you take the day, you clean up the dishes, you relax, you go, what now? I'm feeling a little low. Well, rather than going out and spiking your dopamine again, just wait. Understand that the scale will reset again. Give yourself a few days where you're gonna feel a little kind of underwhelmed. Things aren't gonna be as interesting. It's gonna be hard to trigger that big release because you just had the peak. Well, if you adjust that, you relax, you understand there's always a little bit of a postpartum depression. We sometimes hear about postpartum depression. That's a clinical thing, but there's always that kind of, today's not as exciting as the previous days. What am I gonna do with my life? But then, if you let it start ratcheting up again, then what you realize is your capacity to tap into dopamine as a motivator, not just seeking dopamine rewards, that is infinite. And I can say with great certainty that this is how you were able to build a big company and sell it, how you've been able to build a successful podcast and sell it, how you're constantly seeking, because seeking is the reward. And I think for most people, we think of the reward as the finish line. And so the key is to get to the finish line, step into the end zone, but no end zone dance. It's just like, yep, and now I'm gonna go do it again. How we view the world is shaping the release of these chemicals. And I do believe this happens when we have positive thoughts. We get a lift. If we can get a lift from our positive thoughts, and then dopamine itself puts us in relationship with the outside world such that we view the outside world as having more possibility, that is going to put us into forward momentum. There are a lot of studies to support that. The key with positive thinking is that it has to be honest. It can't be, I've already won, I don't have an Olympic gold medal. If I could tell myself I'm gonna get one tomorrow, but I just don't have the skills. So that's not gonna release dopamine in my system. The key thing is that you can't just be all gas pedal all the time without rewarding yourself. It's mental energy. It's the desire to push on. It's the desire to keep going.
So we need some consistent dopamine hits throughout the days or our months to give us more energy to pursue.
That's right.
But we don't want to be over pursued because then we'll burn out.
That's right. And so everyone has to find where that sweet spot is. There's a lot of interest these days in like habits and habit formation. Because when you move that horizon in close and you complete something small, it's not about what you completed, it's the fact that you completed. So one thing to understand is that dopamine release in the brain is always subjective.
I'm gonna look into.
There's no
We're
experience.
gonna look into this a little bit more once this video is over. Just the brain chemistry or the neuroscience behind it.
That says that has unique domain over dopamine release that will only allow dopamine release. So if it's very subjective. So if I say to myself, I'm going to get into the process of doing something. We have a new year coming up, so there's gonna be a lot of resolutions soon. It's not about, if you attach the dopamine release to the process of effort or goal setting itself, you'll have more energy to be in effort. And then if you can attach dopamine release to the belief that you're at least heading in the right direction, you'll have more energy to keep going in the right direction. People make the mistake of thinking that the positive thought process should be attached to the finish line. It's not about thinking you've already won. It's not about being delusional. It's about thinking that your training is going to take you to the finish line. And so it's about moving that mental horizon in more closely, and then triggering some sort of positive internal representation of what you're doing, meaning thinking positive. And people, this is usually where I get stopped and people say, wait, but it sounds so subjective. Tell me exactly how to do it. But here's the key point. It's supposed to be subjective. This
for you, right?
For everyone needs to figure out what allows them to continue to be in forward momentum, what allows them to constrain the world of possibilities and to go after goals, and how often to self-reward. But the key is the self-word, because if you start only pursuing external rewards, that's when you are no longer in control of your dopamine system. Make sure that reward, really bask in it, really appreciate what you've done and what's come to you. And here's a very important but, take that feeling of being saturated with dopamine, the huge win, and attach it to the effort process that got you there.
All right, y'all. We're going to look at some neuroscience behind motivation. Neurological motivation. Let's see.
Globally, we're facing an unprecedented population expansion of adolescents. The largest generation of young people in the history of humans is coming of age. More than 2 billion young people exist, and 85% of them are in the developing.
Hold up. Go ahead.
Globally, we're facing an unprecedented population expansion of adolescents. The largest generation of young people in the history of humans is coming of age. More than 2 billion young people exist, and 85% of them are in the developing world. Why are there so many young people? Tremendous people exist, and in the history of humans is coming of age. More than 2 billion young people exist, and 85% of them are in the developing world. Why are there so many young people? Tremendous progress has occurred from global efforts focused on women, infant, and children that's leading to young infants and young children surviving and thriving in adolescence, and puberty has been happening at younger ages. So there's been this surge of young people. So why is this a problem? Why is this a challenge? In part, it's because so many of these young people are coming of age in desperate conditions. Among 9 to 13-year-olds, a third of them are living in extreme poverty on less than $1 a day. Among 18 to 25-year-olds globally, 40% are either unemployed or making so little money they can't escape poverty. Even rich nations, in Europe at this point, 25% of young adults are unemployed. Adolescence is a period of intense vulnerability for both experiencing and creating behavioral and emotional problems. It's a time of increasing accidents, suicide, homicide, substance use, addiction, depression, mental health problems, the radicalization of youth. It's a time when these impacts can have long-term effects. And yet, it's equally important to understand adolescence is a period of enormous opportunity. It's a time of growth and development and learning and adaptation. It's a period of brain plasticity when the ability to learn and have impact can have an incredibly positive impact. Taken together, this incredible set of vulnerabilities and opportunities creates a precarious moment in human history. We have this surge of an incredible, unprecedented number of youth coming of age under dire challenges and circumstances, and we have this unbelievably unique opportunity of this transformation of the digital global revolution, of young people's ability to access the information of the world, connect in new ways. So the stakes are really high. One of the things that we are very interested in is how understanding these opportunities for learning can help to inform positive intervention, to make the positive direction happen. We're really interested in understanding how neuroplasticity creates windows of opportunity for learning that can help to emphasize these positive paths. At the Center on the Developing Adolescents at UC Berkeley, we're working to bring together the best science and policy in this area to address these issues about what are these unique opportunities, how do we understand the growth and adaptation and learning potential and ways to tap into that to have a positive impact and inform policy in these areas. We're increasingly, with a lot of collaborations and people across the world working in these areas, understanding not just the brain development, but the psychological and social development that at the onset of puberty results not only in physical growth and changes, but changes in brain behavior and social interactions that creates unique leverage for certain kinds of learning. These are really complex issues, but the plasticity for adolescence has some interesting implications. What is plasticity? Right. In many ways, this is the capacity of experience and behavior and practice to shape the connections of neural circuits and systems. Infants, for example, are naturally drawn to pay attention to language, to learn these words, to practice them, to learn how to walk by practicing. These are semi-natural processes that will shape the brain. The question is, what's the equivalent for adolescence? What are the natural attractors that adolescents want to pay extra attention to biologically that really begin these cascades of rapid learning? These are complex issues, but we're beginning to understand some themes. The unique learning that seems to be potentiated in adolescence is about social and emotional identity and place. It's this finding a valued place as an individual. It's a period when these igniting passions and a desire to have a larger contribution create a unique capacity to be human and take these feelings and channel them into paths of learning and mastery. I love this quote from Maya Angelou. I've learned that people will forget what you said, they'll forget what you did, but they will never forget how you made them feel. That principle is amplified tremendously in adolescence. As puberty kicks in and testosterone and other hormones go up, they become sensitized to feelings of being inspired, of being admired and respected, or being diminished or disrespected. These insights create an interesting angle to tap into the learning potential. The stakes are enormous. There's a lot that hangs in the balance with this unprecedented number of youth coming of age in these risky, vulnerable circumstances, but also this unique transformational capacity for communication, linking, social connection. This creates a compelling case for developmental science to contribute to the teams, the people trying to make a difference, people at this World Economic Forum, world leaders, economists, scientists from different backgrounds in education to say, how can we use our knowledge to help potentiate these positive directions and trajectories? If we're successful tipping this in a positive direction, this could be the beginning of the most exciting time to be alive. Thank you very much.
All right. Hey, so what he said is that we got an unprecedented amount of young people growing up right now, and they growing up in the conditions where they're gonna have to get it out the mud. They're gonna have to be a part of things that they may not want to be a part of. They may make decisions that they can't ever come back from, and a big part of that is just the integration of new capabilities like the internet and gathering knowledge, but also, let's just say, the world isn't ready to handle all of the new stuff that has came out, so we don't have a lot of protocols and stuff in place already because it's the first time that we ever seen it. The way to be able to get in on the flow of that is to never stop learning and allowing your brain to grow. The word neuroplasticity came up a lot in that talk, and what it means is the ability for you to shape the pathways or the neurons or the connections of your brain. And the biggest way to do that is to keep on learning, and not to shut down those pathways and saying you already know it or there's nothing you can do more. So we're going to close the show out today with that. I'm going to save my game here on Cities Landscape, Cities Skyview. And I'm going to get on up out of here and continue on my day. See y'all back here again tomorrow, Tech Tuesday. As usual, this is DGTA TV. Thanks for chilling with me, your host, Dan F. Man, another episode of Expansion Pack for your mind. We're going to holla at y'all tomorrow. Peace. Tense. That was some good talk right there. Definitely was. Today, however, let me make sure I got my title, but I'm saying the right thing. Today, however, we are talking about our location. Of course, this is fine. Sorry, y'all. Find our way, or find your way Wednesday. So location would be important if you're trying to find your way right now. So let's get some motivation for our women out there, because you know it's Wednesday. Get some motivation for the ladies, for the women in our lives and in our world. Motivation for women. And it ain't just for women, it's for everybody, but still. Scroll down, so I don't get nothing. All right, let's go.
You have to be like water. Learn to be like water. Adaptable, fit into any vessel, have a sense of calm, have a sense of patience. But ambition is extremely important. And I don't just say this to girls, I say this to boys and girls. Just everyone who wants to be able to have a purpose in life, have an ambition, have the guts to find your glory. It's extremely important to have guts, to have conviction, to be able to say that, this is what I want and I want to achieve it. I learned it from the very, very strong people in my family that I looked up to, that showed me that it doesn't matter what your circumstances are, it matters how large your dreams are. And I have really large dreams. There's something about knowledge. There's something about if you learn, even if you don't know something, if you have an ambition to be somewhere, if you prepare yourself, you have the ability to be better than everyone else. I like to be prepared for everything, even if it's an interview, even if I'm going for a red carpet, even if something is trivial to someone. Honesty is very important in relationships, whether it's with friends, whether it's with family, whether it's with your loved one, whether it's in a romantic relationship. I think being real to what you really are feeling is very important. And a lot of people don't have the guts to do that because we are always pretending to be a certain way so that we can maintain a relationship. But I think the healthiest relationships happen when you have the ability to call out someone and say, well, that's not right, or I don't feel a certain way and you're wrong or you're right, and to be able to talk about it. It takes taking that cloak of being careful about your emotions off, but that's very important. I really feel like you are defined by, every time you're defined by what you do next, not what you left behind.
Okay.
There's no point of doing the same thing over again. I try not to do the same thing over again. You have to take risks. Risks are so important in evolution. Playing it safe, yeah, you can have an existence, but you'll never be someone who's a trailblazer. My dad was extremely sensitive, but he was also like my biggest champion. The one thing that I learned from him was the hustle. He always taught me that don't be afraid of the failure. What you do next after failure is what will define you. Everyone fails. It's going to happen to you, it's going to happen to me, it's going to happen to everyone. Instead of sitting on your hands and saying, I can't do it again, find the courage inside of you and saying, what can I do differently? How do you look back into your mistake and say, all right, that was a mistake, great, not doing that again. That's something I really learned from my dad. My parents never wanted me to have a what if in my life. What if I had done it? What if I had tried that? So they always supported me. They said, no matter what you do, whatever mistake you make, have the confidence to come and tell us. Because, like, even if you kill someone, my dad, I remember him telling me this, even if you kill someone, come and tell me, I'll help you find the body. I'll help you bury the body, but then I'll take you to the cops too. So you'll always have to have courage of conviction. We spend our entire lives trying to figure out who we really are, and then we change. And then we figure it out, and then we change again. And I think that's the most constant, right? I'm constantly changing, constantly evolving, and I'm hoping that everyone's still curious about me as I keep doing that. I've had so many times whenever I'm doing interviews, people always ask me that, oh, you're doing a movie with, you know, a female co-actor. Did you guys get along? Were there catfights? But when it comes to boys, they say, oh my gosh, that looks like a bromance and everyone got on so well. So I feel like over time, because women had the lack of opportunity, we were pitted against each other because there were only like 5 opportunities, like 5 places a woman could be hired. And so we were elbowing each other out to get to that one spot. So the crux of the problem is the lack of opportunity for females. And the more opportunity we create for each other, the more sisterhood will grow. We're 50% of the world's population.
Right.
We need to be represented in every field like that. We need to be empowered by each other, by the people who are in positions of power, by putting us in positions of power. So I realized many, many years ago that the more I champion women...
Maybe if it was more y'all, I wouldn't be saying that. I don't know. But I still love y'all women.
In my own small way, maybe I'll be able to create a world around me at least where, you know, women run the show because we kind of do it really well. We just aren't given the opportunity enough, you know?
Yes!
When I was very young, I started working when I was 17 years old. And I remember my mother telling me this really young, that women should be financially independent. It doesn't matter who your father is, it doesn't matter who your husband is going to be, it doesn't matter who your brother is, it doesn't matter who the man in your life is. You need to be responsible for your finances and be financially independent.
Now, I agree with that. Because only thing, they don't even take care of all the dogs on the planet, or the birds, or the men. But one thing I do believe is that you should have some form of independence outside of relationship. Women, y'all do y'all thing. Anyway, let's go. Let's get this location. What's that? How that song go? Something about location. That's the only one I can think of. Anyway, our location in time and space. Let's see what they talking about. Alright. Nothing vague, nothing vague. Nothing copywritten. Ah, this is good enough.
So I have a question from Drunk Hustler. How do you experience time? It's a good question that we have been exploring for a while. We have done studies on circadian rhythms and how the fact that we have really no natural light inside the modules other than the one that, you know, only the lights that we turn on and off affects us. And obviously, if we were to look outside the window, we'd have 16 sunrises and 16 sunsets just about every 90 minutes for an orbit. So our impression is that from a very personal